Mm. Hello, Mr. Masterson. Who else we have? Ford, Mr. Oh, they got all this stuff on. Okay. I should be able to sign the room. So make sure you sign the room.
Mr. Vesta, I got a question real quick.
All right, who this?
Mr. Ford.
Okay, what you got?
So I missed out on that first test, I think, and one of the quizzes because I didn't know we had to take them in the testing center. Is there any way I can, do that on Canvas, or should I wait till the end of the semester? How would that work out?
Yeah, remember I'm gonna open up the test and the quizzes again at the end of the semester, remember?
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure you were going to do the same thing.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing. And like I said, I'll just make them available for that week, and you'll just be able to take them, and they'll be scored.
Okay, sweet. All right, thank you.
All right. And wait about another minute, let some other people log in, and then we get started.
Good morning, Mr. Sylvester.
What's up, Miss Pullet?
I can't sign in. I don't know what's going on.
Well, what's your login?
No, I'm talking about signing the roll. I can't sign.
Right. What's your login?
My login is I gotta go back to. Let me go back to this thing.
Should be your first initial, your last initial, the last 4 digits of your L number, dash, and I think we chose 2. I think it was the number 2.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
Yes, sir. Dash 2.
Right. Okay.
Mr. Sylvester?
Yes, who's this?
Brad. Mr. Gyro.
Oh, Mr. Gyro. How you doing, Mr. Gyro?
I'm good, and you?
All right, what you got?
The thing that you sent us about the respondents lockdown thing. How does that work?
Okay. I could go over that too. How many people logged in so far? You got in, Miss Pullet?
I'm trying to see now.
All right. With the responders, what happens is I had to go.
Class not found. Class ID not found.
Okay, I'll get to it. I'm gonna explain this responders. What I did, I've sent you all an email about the responders, right?
Yes.
Because before I said to download it, but don't just freely go to the internet and download it. From that email I've sent you, there's a link which is a video, and then the second link is the actual link. I come to find out that every school or every institution has its own individual link. Okay, so that's why we have to use the one that I sent you. Even if you knew somebody from a different school, you could not use their link. You know what I'm saying? To responders, you would have to get the one from BRCC. So the one that I've sent you, you need to click on it, and what it's going to allow you to do is download an application to your device, right? It doesn't support Androids, I think. It does support the iPad, but I don't think it supports the Android or the cell phone, or either or vice versa. It'll tell you in the specs, but the cell phone it doesn't, and I think the Android it doesn't either. Now, you download the file, then you load the application to your device or your computer. Once you load it, you're gonna have like if I go here and I click here, I have Responders or Lockdown Browser as one of my applications. Then you would click on it. Now, what would happen is when you open up Responders or the Lockdown Browser, you cannot be in any other web application or web browser. It's going to tell you you're going to have to close out Chrome or whatever application. So you close all those applications out, and then you go back and you click on the Lockdown Browser. Because if I click on it now, it's going to tell me, and I run it, it's going to try to load, but it's going to tell me I need to close out some applications. I need to move this. Or I should have said it. See here? Yeah, you must close the following programs. So I need to close out the Chrome browser, etc. Now, once I close it and I come back in, it's going to give me Canvas, because it should know whether I'm using Canvas, Moodle, or whatever based on that link I gave you. Then you will see, it's somewhat like Canvas. You'll see the available quizzes or tests that are in Canvas that run through Responders. And then when you click on it, you'll be in this browser. You can't add any other tabs to it or whatever. You can't get out of it or whatnot. So that's what the Lockdown Browser is. It's an application that puts you in a browser where you can't go out and go to the internet and whatnot and stuff like that. Okay? But use that link that I gave you in that email I sent through Canvas. All right?
And this will be used just for tests?
Certain tests. Well, yeah, for the test. What I did, and it's I think the and/or quiz or whatnot. Certain quizzes I'll do it too, because I want you to, to do the work. I want you to go through it. I don't want you to try to cheat. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Then for the final, you're gonna have to have the webcam and with the Lockdown Browser. So anybody have issues where they don't have a webcam or whatnot? Because the final, when you go to take the final, it's gonna ask you to set up your, set up your webcam. And I'm gonna show you an example of what I'm talking about. I could close this up. If I go to Responders, where Lockdown, go to Lockdown. So you won't see what you see on my screen, all right? But here, when I go to this, and I'm gonna set up the final with the camera, it's gonna ask you to do certain things. So when I'm saying I'll just choose this quiz here. It's this something you took already, bonus. All right, so I would say it would be required for the exam, but then what I'll do is I'll say it has to be monitored. All it is the camera. Now, what's going to happen? That'll alleviate me from trying to sit down and watch each individual person, schedule a particular time for each individual person. But I could always go back and watch the video to see what was going on. So if we look at this, so here it says webcam check, and that's something you're gonna have to do. And basically all it does is show you the webcam or what the picture that's being shown, and it asks, if you can see it. Yes, that's checked off. Then recording. I kind of had an issue with this going. Let's see what happens now. It tells you to click here and then either count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on, or A, B, C, D, E. So I click here and I'll say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So it just do a recording just to, I guess, get your characteristics, your voice or whatever. So if somebody else says something or whatever, it can monitor that. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure actually what that does. Right. And then this just stays in the loop because for me, I let it sit for like 5 or 10 minutes. I say, oh no, it shouldn't take that long. But then it might. But hopefully it won't for you. But what it's doing, yeah, it's trying to prepare the video so, and I guess store it and save it so it can analyze. So, let's see if I can get out of it.
Are we gonna have to do like show them our rooms, show our rooms and all that, or something?
Right. Well, it's not necessarily the room, but you're gonna have to show. See, like it's still working. I'm gonna get out of it because I can't click on the next one, and I'm gonna come back. It got guidelines and tips that tell you things that you need to do. All right, student photo. All it is it's gonna come up again. It's gonna ask you to click to take a photo. I guess just to validate, okay, this is the person that's taking the test. So this is just all security measures. Click, and then that's the caption. If you like it, go on, you can continue, or they'll accept that. Now, then you have where you have to show an ID. Now, which ID you use, to me, it doesn't matter. You can use a driver's license. You can use a state license, a state ID. You can use your school ID, as long as it has a picture on it. And all you do is grab it and put it in front of the camera and then take the picture. All right? So that'll be your ID that will try to match you with the picture. All right? And like I say, you just take the picture and then it'll have it if you like it. Then you can continue on. And then the next one is the environmental or the environment check. This is the one, Mr. Gyro, you asked that question?
Yes, sir.
Right. See here, it will tell you to start recording. And like I said, if you got your webcam on your computer, all you do is just tilt it over or pan it over down on the desk because depending on what classes you're in, say that you're in a math class, they might say you can have pencil and paper and no calculator. So you pan the desk, or whatever, just to show that you don't have it or whatever. And that's that. All right? And then the facial detection, let's see. And see, it'll actually record or whatever. And it's going to do record for so long and stop, or it should stop. All right. All right. Why is it not working? Well, let me go out. And then when I come back to the facial, and I think what this one does, this just kind of, I think what happens, I'm not really sure, I've never really used responders. While you're taking your exam, you're normally looking at your computer, maybe looking down if you have paper or whatever, but it try to keep you focused where the webcam should see some characteristics of your face. So what happened is it try to detect to see, like, if you done turned away to say talk to somebody or look at another monitor or look at an answer somewhere else or whatever. So and it have a feature where I can choose to notify your student if the camera or the software cannot detect your face. Like, I guess if you put your hand over your face or whatever or stuff like that, it might say, cannot view your face, please, position. So I don't know what it's gonna say, but I think that's what that's for. All right. So so that's the checks that you have to go through. All right. And then basically you finish and you close it, and that's done. But that'll only be for the final. You understand? That will only be for the final. So like I said, I'll probably be getting messages if some people have issues or whatnot with that. All right. Okay. But anybody got any questions about that? Any questions? Let's look at the email that I sent. I know in some classes I put it as one class I did it as announcements. So if I go here,
that email is so hard to read.
Huh?
that email has like it's like it's missing spaces or something.
Well, yeah, and what happens is it's the exact, how would I say it? It's the exact content from. Well, let me go back. Right. It's the exact content. Let me go back to it. Where am I? Let me go back. It's the exact, and I tried to. Only thing I spaced out was the link, because I know not here, because sometimes them links, if all the words are together, one word, one character can throw it off. So what happens is, where it is, see here, this is what it should have looked like. You understand?
Right.
But I just copied it and pasted it, and I just put spaces in between this. All right. And like you say, it will be kind of hard to read, because I was trying to hurry up and get it out there, because I think some people were trying to take a test in my other class.
It's all good. I was just making a little comment, like it was
right, but you are right. You are right, because all these URLs was all in the paragraphs too, and if I'd have left it like that, it could have been hard for some people to distinguish when and where, and they would have gotten errors. All right. But like I say, this is basic, and you could go back based on me scrolling through now. You probably can go back once I post this video and read it from here. So that might help you. Okay. But that's the lockdown browser. All right. And then what? I'm using the lockdown browser and the webcam. Then it got other information. Basically the same thing, but it just tells you what all you need to do and what are the guidelines, etc. All right? Okay. Now, any other questions? My assignments. Question about my assignments. Class, some of y'all kind of understand the if logic. Some of y'all kind of, how would I say it? Your else didn't match. Some of you all included the 30 and the 10 in the, I'm talking about the last assignment, the 10 and the 30 inside the valid numeric digits when it said between. Remember we talked about that. It said between 10 and 30. All right. What else? What other issues I had? Sometimes when you read in a value, your if logic for your ABC may have been kind of confusing. And some people, y'all programming without tabbing over and grouping or tabbing, where each group is tabbed over, where you can basically see, oh, this is my if logic, this is my else logic. And if I have nested, this is my nested if. But like I said, it makes it kind of hard to understand if you do not tab your if logic, okay? So try to make your programs to where they're readable, okay? So with that said, okay, with the if logic. Now, we learned if. Do not forget it, because now we're going to be doing loops. And with loops, we can add if logic within the loops. So it's like it's not that you just learn the ifs and now we forget it and now we're moving on to a new section. It's like we learn the ifs, now we adding on top of the ifs loops, all right? So it's like if you didn't catch on, then you're gonna have to catch on, or you're gonna get more and more confused, all right? So let's start with the chapter. It's talking about the increment and decrement operators. And what they are shortcuts that can be used to add one or to take away one from a variable, all right? And we have plus, plus, and we have minus, minus, all right? To increment a value means to increase it by one, or to decrement it, a value means to decrement by one. Both of the following statements increment a variable called num. Now watch. Num equals num plus one. If somebody write it this way, num plus equal one, remember, I think we talked about this before. That's the same thing. Num equals then num plus 1. All right? But, and I'm going to just scroll down, there's an operator called, which is this increment operator, where you can do num plus plus. All three of these, this one, and this one, are equivalent. Now, which one should you use? It's up to you as a programmer. Which one is right? Which one is wrong? Neither. Both of them, all three of them do the same thing. All right. Look at the minus. Num equal num minus 1. That will take 1 away. Now, in my other classes, when you was in 192, it talked about in this fashion the accumulator. What happens is when I each time I perform this statement, it's doing what? Taking whatever's on this side and storing it on this side. So if I execute this statement 2 times, if num is 0, well, if num is 1, if I execute this one statement twice, then what? 1 is equal to 1 plus 1. It solves here and stores what? A 2 here. If I execute it again, 2 is equal to 2 plus 1. It solves here. 2 plus 1 is 3, and then it stores it here. So it's what? It's accumulating a value. All right? So what's happening is it actually increases the value because what? This variable is on both sides. And the same thing with the negative. You actually taking away from the value because it's on what? Both sides of the equal sign. All right? But then look, num minus minus, that's equivalent to this and this. Now, later on in the chapter, we're going to talk about pre and post because num plus plus is equal to num is equivalent to num equal num plus 1. But when we start moving this plus plus around, we can see how it can affect an expression, all right? And we will see that later on, all right? So now, let's look at this. It says the expression num plus plus is pronounced, in a sense, num plus plus. And num minus minus is pronounced num minus minus, all right? But look here. Our example so far shows the increment and decrement operators used in postfix mode. Postfix is after, all right? Post, that's after. Pre is before, all right? So it says that the example so far has been in postfix mode. So what? We had num plus plus, where is it? Plus plus, that's post, that's after. Num minus minus, that's post, all right? So, but look here. Now we got plus plus num. It's equivalent to num plus plus. We have minus minus num. It's equivalent to num minus minus. But if used in an expression, it can change the results of an answer. And everybody so far understand the plus plus and the minus minus and the significance of it. One adds one take away one. Everybody understand that, all right? Important to understand. So now it says both postfix and prefix mode operators add or subtract one from their operand, all right? So if we look here, what this does, this is a program that demonstrates plus plus and minus minus operators. So let's run through this program. So here we got our main. We got int num equal 4. So that's our starting point. Then we got see out the variable num, well, the variable num is, and then we just output what num is. And num is what? 4, right? So it's going to output 4. But then they did what? Num plus plus. So that's going to say what? Num is equal to num plus 1. So num equal num plus 1 equates to what? 5. So it said now the variable num is, and it would print 5, all right? Okay, say I will increment num again. So here it moves here and it say plus plus num, and say now the variable num is, so you add 1 to it, so it's what? It's 6, okay? And then it will output 6. Then it says what? I will decrement. So now what? Num minus minus. So now num becomes what? 5 again, all right? And then we come here and we do a num minus minus, and then what? Now we output 4. So if we look at this, okay, we started at 4, we incremented, we got 5, we incremented, we got 6, we decremented, we got 5, and the second time we decremented, we got 4 again. Okay, simple program. I could write it without all those comments in it so you can see what's going on. Let's go to online GDB and watch. Pound include. Okay, so if I say int x equal 1, all right? So I set x equal 1. So if I do something like x plus plus, or if I could type x plus plus, x plus plus, x plus plus, and then do x minus minus. So, looking at this, what will x eventually be? It starts out at what? 1. Here we increment by 1, it becomes what? 2. We increment again, it comes what? 3. We increment again, it becomes what? 4. But then we decrement by 1 and it becomes 3. So the output for x should be what? 3. So we really, x started at 1, we added 3, 1 plus 3 is 4, and then we subtract 1, which brought it back down to 3. So our answer here should be what? 3. So let's run it. And see, the answer is 3. So it started at 1, we incremented, then decremented, and it's 3. All right? So that's how the pre and post will work. All right? Just add 1, take away 1. Now, I could do the same thing here. I'm just going to put it pre. Now, what the result's going to be here? The exact same thing. Add 1 to make 2, add 1 to make 3, add 1 to make 4, subtracting 1 to bring it back down to 3. We run it, and we get our answer of, come on, computer, 3. All right? So pre and post, they perform the exact, well, I wouldn't say perform the exact same way, but they both either incrementing by 1 or either decrementing by 1. All right? So, and what I'm going to leave this up because I'm going to show you what's the difference. All right? So now, the difference, and goes into the note, the difference between postfix and prefix mode. All right? All right, so look at this. It is in the simple statements used in 5.1, it doesn't matter if the increment or decrement operators is used in pre or postfix mode. All right. The difference is important, however, when the operators are used in statements that do more than just increment or decrement. When you actually have some kind of expression or you're trying to assign a value to a variable. That's when it becomes very, very, very tricky to understand. All right. Now, look at this. For example, num equals 4, right? So just looking at this cout statement, we would say what? Oh, if it output num plus plus, it's going to output 5. Wrong. It's going to output 4. Reason being, this postfix, when I look at this, what happens is num on this line, if it's postfix, will equal to only 4. It's going to increment when it moves to the next executable line, okay? So if something is postfix, the value on that line does not change. It only changes when you go to the next executable line. So go back here and I'll show you. You're saying, well, Mr. Vester, that don't sound right. Okay, let's set this to 10, all right? We set this to 10, and I'll say cout, well, I'll cout, let's see, X, and then I'll do this. I'll do X plus plus, right? Now, I'm gonna take this minus out because, all right, because I want you to see something. So look, we have cout, and don't worry about the tab, that's just the label. Look, X is 10, cout X plus plus. It will output 10 because this is postfix, meaning I'm only gonna add 1 to X after I execute this particular line. But once I leave this line, now X becomes what? 10. So when I do this cout, the value of X is now what? 11. All right? You say, okay, let's see. Let's run it. Let's see what happens. I shouldn't have double split. I didn't do my string. Okay. And I'll just take one of these or two, both of these. All right. So let's run it. I'll do an inline right here. All right, so let's run it. See here? What happened? We assigned it, we initialize X to equal 10. Then we outputted X plus plus. But what? This is post. So X really didn't change. But once we left this line, automatically X becomes 11. So when we cout X here, X is 11. You got to kind of get this, class. You got to remember that. All right? Now, if I would have done this, though, plus X, all of a sudden now what? This is pre. What pre means is before I leave this line, I want to solve this expression. So X plus plus, I'm gonna add 1, then I'm gonna output. So what's gonna happen? X is 10 plus X, add 1, that means 11, so it outputs 11, and then here is gonna output 11 also. So when I run it, I'm gonna get 11 twice. All right? Everybody saw that small difference, pre and post. Just because I had it on the beginning or the end, it does make a difference. All right. So let's go back to the notes. All right. So it tells us postfix mode causes the increment to happen after the value of the variable is used in an expression. All right. And basically what we just saw. All right. But postfix. Well, I just read that wrong. I think. Postfix mode causes the increment to happen, well, I do it right, after the value of the variable is used in the expression. But the prefix, however, this here allows it to what? Increment before it actually what? Leave that line. All right. So however, the prefix will cause the increment to happen first and then perform whatever it has to perform in the expression. All right. So let's look at this example here. All right. Let's run through this example. So here we have int num equal 4. So C out num is going to output what? 4. All right. Then we got C out on the same line, num plus plus. It's still going to output what? 4 because it's post. But when we move to the next line, then I didn't add anything else to it, but it's going to add this to it. And then now num becomes 5. But then here we have plus plus num. So it's 5 and this is pre. Then it's going to say what? 5 plus 1 is 6. And then it's going to output 6. And then it ends the program. All right? So you got to be able to understand what's going on. Because in C++, many times you'll see those things. You'll see it in an expression. And it can cause havoc for you to understand what is going on. All right? So let's look at this. Because what happens? I can do something like this. X equal, let's reduce this. Let's say 3, y equals 1, and we'll do sum. All right? So what we could do is we could do something like this. I'll change this to sum. I'll change this to sum. I'll take this out. Now, watch this. If I just do something like this, sum is equal to plus plus x times y minus minus. Wow. Okay. So looking at this expression, what will sum equal to? I'll give y'all a little time to look at it and decide, okay? Looking at this, sum is equal to, so we got a increment for x, so that means we're gonna increment x by 1, so x becomes what? 4. We got a post decrement for y, so that means we're gonna solve the expression first, then we're gonna subtract 1 from y. So what happens? 4 times 1 gives us 4, right? But once we leave that line, x is 4 and y is 0. Everybody understand that? X is 4, which x is going to be 4 on that line, but y, once we leave that sum line, y going to be 0, all right? So, and what I could do, I could just output it here just to show you. All right, so let's run this. So the answer we said should be 4. It's 4 times 1. What did I do? Oh, no strings. All right. Okay, so let's run it. All right, so see the answer is 4. But look, if we printed x and y, 4 times 0 is 0. But what? On this line, x increments by 1 to be 4, and y stays the same, which is what? 1. And we got what? 4 times 1, and we stored it in sum to get 4. But when we left that line, x remains 4, and y decrements to 0. Okay? Any questions? Anybody have any questions? All right? So that pre and that post, you got to be careful because you can get confused with it. All right? And so this all talks about the pre and the post and whatnot. Just like here, x is equal to 1. And then int y. Y is equal to plus plus x. Y is equal to what? 2. All right? Because this is pre. So what? You're going to perform this prior to doing your expression. So what? 1 plus 1 is 2, so y is equal to 2. All right? And that's all this saying here. So look here. And basically some of the same stuff I did in the program just now. A is equal to 2. B is equal to 5. C is equal to A times B plus plus. This is post. So what? 2 times 5 or 2 times 6? That will be 2 times 5 because this is post. So 2 times 5 is going to give you 10. All right. So this will output 2, 5, and 10. But we notice what? B only incremented after we left that particular statement. All right. So you got to be careful. But if we had the program where we had C is equal to A times plus B, now it would be what? 2 times 6, because B is 5. This is pre, so you add this before you solve. So this would be 6, 2 times 6 to give us 12. And then X would be 2, A would be 2, B would be 6, and we would have C to equal to 12. So you gotta be careful. But now look what they say here. This would give us an error because we cannot do a plus plus on a group of operands or expression. You can't do it, all right? So it'd have to be the plus plus A or plus plus B. You got me? So here we got A is equal to 2, B is equal to 5, but we tried to do C is equal to plus plus collectively A times B. Can't do that way. You can't do that. Now what we could do, we could store this value in C and then do C plus plus, and then it will increment by 1. But you cannot try to solve this and then increment this expression by 1. No, cannot be done. All right, so that's all that's saying. All right, now using plus plus and minus minus in relational expressions. All right, so we know we've used what? If logic already, right? Where we had if X is greater than Y, if T is not equal to 3, or if something is greater than or equal or whatever. All right, you got to be careful when you're using it in this fashion. So, but it can be done. So sometimes you will see code where the plus plus and the minus minus operators are used in relational expressions. Okay, just as in mathematical expressions, the difference between post and pre-mode is very critical because we know what? With pre, we have to solve first. With post, we have to solve the expression and then increment, all right? So now, so look at this. X is equal to 10, okay? This says if X plus plus is greater than 10, this would be false because what? This is post. X plus plus would be 10 greater than 10. 10 is not greater than 10. If it was pre, yes, but it's post. So it say two operators are happening at the same, operations are happening in this if statement. Number one, the value of X is tested to determine if it's greater than 10, right? That's what's going on, X greater than 10, all right? But the second, X is incremented. So X is only incremented what? After the test. Okay, so because what? The increment operator is used in post mode, the comparison happens first, all right? But if it was pre, then X would be greater than 10. But being that it's post, 10 is not greater than 10, so it would do whatever's false or continue on with the program, all right? So that's all that's saying. Since 10 is not greater than 10, the cout statement would not execute, all right? So let's look at this one, this example. X equals 10, but then it says if plus plus X greater than 10. Cout X is greater than 10. Now, so what happens? Because this is pre, we have to we have to increment x by 1. So now x becomes what? 11. Is 11 greater than 10? Yes. So we're going to see out x is greater than 10. All right. So let's look at it in a program. All right. Well, and like I say, you've seen it that way, but most times it's more, I would say, understandable when you see it in the program. So if, and we say x plus plus and say greater than, let's say 5, and we put a 5 here. All right. So, and remember, if I wanted to execute all of these statements here, I have to embody all of those statements in curly braces. And then what? To make your program somewhat readable and better to understand, you would want to indent. I'm trying to stress that to you all. Don't just try to write code and everything is all aligned. It makes it very hard to understand. All right. So this says if x plus plus is greater than 5. Now we set x to equal 5, right? So x plus plus is x. It's 5 because this is post. So 5 is not greater than 5, so it will not print anything. It's only going to do this if it's true. So when we run this, we won't get any output. Right? We're just going to get the, we just get the end of the program. All right? But simply if I just do this, now all of a sudden, plus plus x, we have to solve this first. That means increment x by 1, x becomes 6. Is 6 greater than 5? Yes, so it's going to output sum. And like I say, this will give us an error, so I'm going to comment this sum out because at this time, we don't have a value for sum. So let's run it, all right? All right, so what? Being that what? This incremented, and we changed it to 6. 6 is greater than 5, it outputted 6, and then it outputted 1, all right? Okay, so that's what that's actually saying. Anybody have any questions on that section, all right? Because that's going to lead up to writing the code to do your loops. All right. So,
I got a question.
Yes, sir. Mr. Marler?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I understand what you just taught. But maybe you can help me understand a little better. Like I look at it as like this, what you just taught as like a tool, right? And like, cause you only type like what you need to use, right? And so like, what is the purpose of that? Is it a comparison? Is that what, like what's the exact purpose of incrementing like in an if statement?
All right. Inside of if, all right, like, well, like I say, gonna just depend on programming logic. But sometimes, say if you got, how would I give it? Okay, sometimes, and we're in chapter 5, right? Let me try to get back to where I was, and then we'll, okay.
Maybe we can talk about it afterwards or something.
No, it's gonna help. If we talk about it now, it's gonna help you understand once we get to it. Okay, so what happens is, how would I say it? If I was writing code, all right? Many times when you are writing, like take the class we have with the 194 class, and you're doing some type of sort. Different type sorts allow for different things, all right? And what happens is sometimes you have to compare up until a certain value. You don't want to go beyond. So what you would do is you can compare, increment till you get to whatever, and being that you're not actually comparing that outer bounds range, when you do that x plus plus, it's checking. But once it increments, I'm to the boundary, I could kick out. So you know what I'm saying? It's like you're trailing. Yeah, you're trailing. Mm-hmm. Also, when you're dealing with character data, right? And we never got deep into it yet. not character data, but string data, right? A literal. Remember what we said, what happens when you have a string literal? The system automatically puts a what at the end of it? A null terminator.
Right.
You understand? So when you have to start manipulating, if I told you to try to manipulate characters where you had to find a word inside of a string, then that plus plus and that minus minus, all those, now you want, I need to go one above, I need to be one behind, and stuff like that. It helps you to be able to maneuver better than trying to be exactly on that point, if you understand what I'm saying. So it gives you that flexibility, all right?
Right.
It gives you that flexibility. Say, nope, I don't want to increment now. I want to test this position, then I want to move on to the next one. So, you know, and then when we start dealing with the for loop, and I could show you right quick what happens. If I do something like this, I'll say int, I could keep some. And I don't even need to set X. I'll just say int Y and Z, Y and some. So if I do something like this, and like I said, I'm just doing that, we're going to move on. For int, and then I'll say, well, I did it wrong. Int X equals 0, X less than 10, X plus plus. Now, so what happens here? X will increment what?
After
all of this is done. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So if it didn't, then what? X will start at 1, 2, 3. I set it to 0, but it's gonna start at what? 1. You understand? So
right.
What happens is when I run this, it's gonna output this statement 10 times. All right? Because what? I'm gonna start at 0 and I'm gonna stop at what? Less than 10. So
right.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, which is what? 10. Now, you might say, well, Mr. Sylvester, we could just start at 1 and then end at less than equal to 10. That's true, right? But the next class you get in, when you start dealing with arrays and start dealing with vectors and anything else, addresses, you're going to understand that an array position always starts with a subscript of 0. You understand?
Right.
So that's why when we code and when you see a lot of code, they'll go from 0 to whatever. So that when they start dealing with arrays or whatever and know that the computer really start at 0, we start at 1. Computer always start at 0. So if you get in the habit of starting at 0, 0 less than 10, okay, we know that's 10, right? And if anybody took my the 192 class, when we was talking about conversions, and we said base 2. Base 2 is how many digits? 2 digits. What are the digits? 0 and 1, not 2. You understand? When we talk about base 8, what are the digits? 0 through 7, not 1 through 8. You got what I'm saying?
Right.
So this 0 start here will be important when you start dealing with what? Arrays, right? Because that'll be the starting point or starting position of the array. So looking at this will perform 10 times. Let's make it less than that. Let's say 4. So 0 to less than 4, all right? It would be 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, and it kicking out at 4. So because 4 is not less than 4. So if we run this, when X is 0, it's gonna stay 0 and Y gonna stay 1. So it's just gonna print this 4 times. So if we run this, well, X gonna increment. I forgot X. See, X went from what? Well, let me move this up a little bit. See, X started at 0. So what? For int X equals 0, that's my starting point. X less, and then this is my test, X less than 4, okay? Then what? We increment after we return, you understand? After we perform this one time. So what? The first time through, X is 0. Once we get here, it's incremented. So now it's gonna say what? is 1 less than 4? Yes, it is. You got what I'm saying?
Right.
And then it performed it. Increment is 2 less than 4. Yes, it is. Print out. Come back. Increment is 3 less than 4. Yes. Okay. Increment. Then it's going to ask is 4 less than 4. Nope. It kicks out and it ends the program. Okay. So this is another reason why the postfix would work. You know, because like I said, otherwise this would cut this short to 3. You understand?
Right.
The 3 options. All right. And you'll see when you start coding, it's like, man, you know, the pre and the post, it does matter. All right. So, any other questions? Any other questions? And sometimes, Mr. Marler, you ever had an expression where you had a value, you wanted to use that particular value, but then that when you move on, you wanted to increment it. See, that's the beauty of that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
X is this. Okay, I want to use it with its current value, and then when I move to the on in my program, I want to increment it and then do whatever. But I can increment it at that time, saying that okay, I've used it. Okay, it's incremented, and I move on. I don't have to have another line to increment. You know, have added code in my program. All right.
Right.
Okay. So,
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Any questions? All right. So the while loop. Well, we'll get to the for loop again, and that's toward the end of the chapter. So the while loop. It tells us that, in a sense, a loop is a part of a program that repeats, and we just saw that in here. The for loop is a loop, and what it did, it just repeated this statement 4 times. But it would repeat whatever we have in here 4 times, no matter what it is. If I had a menu, it'll repeat it 4 times unless I'm doing a input to make it do something else. But it will still perform this 4 times. All right. So a while loop. All right. So here it talks about a loop is a control structure that causes a statement or either a group of statements to repeat. C++ has 3 loop control structures: the while loop, the do-while loop, and the for loop. The while loop will perform something based on a test that you give. Like if I say while x is less than 3, while x is greater than 5, while x is not equal to 100, you know, stuff like that. That would be, my test. And then I can have my body of my loop as to what it should perform. A do-while, and then first of all, with the while loop, what happens? A test is being checked. You test against the value. Then if it's true, you're going to fall in the loop, right? So with a while loop, the test has to be true in order for you to perform the statements. With a do-while, it promises or it allows you to perform the body of the while at least 1 time. Okay, so what happens is the test is asked at the end. Now, Mr. Marler asked about pre and post with the operator. This is somewhat the same kind of analogy. The while loop, you have to test before you fall in. The do while, you perform and then you test. All right, so it's kind of like the same kind of analogy. All right, and then the for loop, you telling it or specifying how many times you want to actually perform the loop. All right, so let's look at the while loop. All right, and if you look at a loop, first of all, you need to understand 3 things: the starting point, all right, or the initial value, the test, and the increment or either decrement. Those are the 3 components, and then you have the body. But those are the 3 components that's very important when you're working with the loops, any loop. The starting point, all right, the test condition, and then the increment or either the decrement, depending on what you're doing. So let's look at this example here. And what this shows is that basically a loop does what? Asks a question, and then what? Perform statements. and then go back, ask the question again. If it's true, perform statement, go back. So as long as it's true, it will what? Repeat those statements over and over and over and over again till the statement is false. When it's false, it continues on with the program. So this is a small diagram of a flow chart as to how the logic does work. So in general, you have a while and then your expression, and then you can have a statement, all right? So notice, they don't have curly braces or whatever, because by default, just like with the if, you can have just one statement, they're gonna perform that and it's finished. But I tell you, I would prefer you always to embody this, because you never know when you start modifying. And some people did that with their programs. They didn't use the open and curly braces to embody all of what they wanted to do, which threw their logic off in their program. All right. So you got to pay attention to that. You got to watch. All right. So it tells us that the first line shown in the format is sometimes called a loop header, while, and whatever the expression is. All right. So let's look at an example. While, okay, whatever the statements are, but they embodied in what? Curly braces. So if you have more than one statement, they do have to be in curly braces. So let's do that. All right. So the first thing I said, let's take this for out. All right. I said for a while loop, all right, let's say we do while, and we could set this back to X, because we used X in the previous example. X equals 0. All right. And then we say while X is less than 4. All right. Now, and this is our body. Right? Now, the thing is, what did I say are the components of a loop? This is our starting point, correct? This is our test, but what we missing? We're missing that increment or decrement, right? So how and where would I put that in order for this to be tested each time? All I would do is this, X plus plus, if I can type, X plus plus, all right? So in doing this, all of a sudden, I have my three components. This is my starting point, this is my test, and this is my increment, all right? Just like the for loop, remember? Exactly like, well, not exactly, but the same exact statements as the for loop. Okay, and this is my body, begin and end. So in here, I could do something like C out, and I'll do, I could say, I'll do this up top. Okay, just a double space, and then I'll do /T. And then I'll just do BRCC. All right, so how many times will BRCC be printed? All right, X is 0, correct? So while X is less than 4, it's 0 less than 4, yes. It's gonna output BRCC. It's gonna increment X by 1, so what? 0 becomes 1, okay? Is 1 less than 4? Yes. Output BRCC for the second time. Increment by 1. It's going to ask, is 2 less than 4? Yes. Output BRCC for the third time. Increment by 1. And then it becomes 3. Is 3 less than 4? Yes. Output BRCC for the fourth time. Increment by 1. Then it's going to ask, is 4 less than 4? No, 4 is equal to 4. It kicks out. Okay? So let's run this. And like I say, if you notice, int X equals 0, while, and then we have X less than 4, and then we have X plus plus. Those three components, all right? They need it. So we run it, and what? BRCC is printed what? Oh man, if I could get the arrows out. semicolon. Run it. BRCC 4 times. So everybody see that. All right. If I can pick this up. All right. So here we got 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So it printed 4 times. And if I do this, if I say, okay, well, let me see what X is as I print. And if I do this, when I run it, see, 0, 1, 2, 3. When X becomes 4, it kicks out. All right. So it prints 4 times. Now, I think, no, I may not get here, but sometimes students do something like this. When you do this, you nullify the while loop. Remember when and I forgot to tell you that about the if, but when you run it, what happens is you're going to only get 1 BRCC if it runs. Wow. No,
I don't think it'll run anything because it cancels out the whole statement.
Well, it cancels out this statement. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, yeah, and it never increments. So it's in an infinite loop. That's what's happening. So what happens is, it's something like this. Oh, well, God, I don't want to do that. What happening is, right now, it's in an infinite loop. And you say, okay, what's an infinite loop? An infinite loop is a loop that will never terminate. Because what? What is X set to?
0.
0. So it says what? While 0 is less than 4. Is it less than 4?
Yep.
Yes. While 0 less than 4. Is 0 less than 4?
Yes.
So it's stuck right here on this line. All because what? That semicolon. Everybody see that? All right. Now, and I'm gonna show you. And I think I didn't mention it. Oh, I see what happened. I'm gonna stop it. I'll stop it here. All right. Like if I do this this way, if X is less than 4, and I put a semicolon here. Remember what I said with that? What does that do? That nullifies the body of the if. So this just gonna say, okay, if X less than 4, okay, I'm finished. And then what? It's just gonna see how BRCC increment by 1 and stop. All right. So, cause what? I could make this 10. All right. And when I run it, it's still gonna print this because it's not a part of what? That if. So when I run this, it's gonna see out BRCC 1 time. See? And see, because what? All I did when I put that semicolon there, I said this is not a body of this if. I put the semicolon and terminated all of this to be what? Just normal statements.
And then,
okay.
And then technically, those curly braces above and below your program don't need to be there too, right?
Right. Correct. That's right. Correct. Because you can put curly braces anywhere.
Right.
Long as because I could put them around this, like in and see out. Long as I have open and close. You understand?
Right.
It won't affect the program. Right. Now, but so when I do the while, like I say, and you got to remember, watch those semicolons, right? And I'm telling you that for a reason, because when we do the do, you're gonna need a semicolon for to end it. So here we got while this. So this performed 4 times. Now, and that infinite loop part that becomes a big part of the program, because what if I would not have this statement here? What happens to my program? If I comment this plus here, let's go through it. X is 4. Well, let's see, and plus is 0. X is 0, all right? Is 0 less than 4? Yes. Is output BRCC, is output 0, all right? It goes back. X is what?
Still
0. Is 0 less than 4? Yes, it is. Output BRCC, output 0. Goes back. X is what?
0.
0. So it's never even attempting to get to what? To be greater than 4. So this stays in an infinite loop. So let's run it and see. And you might be able to see it, but you might not. The screen might flicker and it might not. And I'm waiting. There we go. See here? And what's happening is moving so fast, you don't really see the values being outputted on the screen, but it's just outputting the same values over and over and over in the same location. So that's what's actually happening. So I'm stuck in an infinite loop. And when you're stuck in an infinite loop, the program never continues, right? It will never continue. So I'm gonna stop it, all right? Because that's an infinite loop. And you don't want infinite loops in your program, all right? So I want to increment. Now, let me ask you this. What if I do this? What happens to that loop?
It's still less than 4. It'll always
right. I'm going to the negative infinity. I'm going to a negative infinity, and it's never trying to reach what? 4 or greater than 4. So that's an infinite loop also. So see how we got to kind of watch and know what our logic is so that when we write our loops, we know what we're actually doing, because it's very tricky. Now, inside of here, we can still, like I told you, we could do something like, say this, if x is greater than 2, right? So now, what have I done to my logic now? All I've done, okay, I'm gonna perform what? This 4 times. But what? I'm gonna output BRCC only when what? X is greater than 2. You understand? So I'll put the plus back. So now what? When X is 0, it won't print anything, correct? When X is 1, it won't print anything. When X is 2, it won't print anything. But when X is 3, it's gonna print out BRCC and it's gonna stop. You got me? So it's gonna perform it 4 times, but then after the fact, it'll after it gets to 3, it's gonna print. So watch, let's run it. See here? It printed when X was 3. Now watch this though. I could do something like this. If X modulus 2 is equal to 0. Now what I'm doing, I'm only printing out that C out when I find out a what? When X is a what?
Even
number, correct, right? 0 and 2. So now when I run it, you understand what happened? So I'm doing it 4 times. My number range is 0 to 4. I mean 0 to 3. But I'm only printing out when X is even. All right. And I can even change this 4. I could say make this 20. All right. And when I run it, now it's going to do it from 0 to 20. All right. So see here. So see how I can modify my program to expand, to do whatever with a simple loop and increment my ranges or decrement them or whatever. All right? Okay. Questions. Now, okay, that's the while. Okay. Here's an example. Int number equals 0. While number is less than 5. So how many times is going to perform this loop? From 0 to what? Less than 5. That means what? 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's going to perform it what? 5 times. Because we have what? Number plus plus. So what? Remember the starting point, the test condition, and the increment or decrement inside the body, right? So that's a while loop. That's what you need, those components, right? You got to have those components. So look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it kicked out the loop and print what? That's all, folks. All right, or that's all, huh? All right, so that's basically what this is saying. So you got to have a starting point, which they didn't talk about, all right? Then you have to have your test, and then you have to have what? Your increment, okay? So you got to do those. You got to have it. so it'll know how many times to iterate through the loop. All right. So look at this. Same thing. The test. But before we have this test, num has to have a what? Value. It has to know. It has to be declared, number one. But then num needs to have a value so it can compare it against 5. So somewhere prior to this loop, you have to either set num to be some type of value or assign it from another variable or something, right? And then as long as it's less than 5, we perform in this. When it gets to be 5 or greater, it kicks out, all right? And this is basically the flow chart. Ask the question, is num greater than 5? Less than 5? Yes, it is. Print hello, add 1. Is num less than num which is 1 less than 5? Yes. Print, add 1. Is 2 less than 5? Yes. Print, add 1. 3 less than 5? Yes. Print, add 1. 4 less than 5? Yes. Print, add 1. 5 less than 5? Oh, no. And it kick out. All right. So it tells us that the while loop is a pre-test loop. And what we're saying is what? Like I just said, you have to have that variable has to be declared and initialized before what? It can be tested here. So if the while loop is a pre-test, in order for you to fall inside, if that test holds to be false, it will not perform it, okay? So that's why it's a pre-test. It has to be tested before that variable num less than 5. You have to run this test before you execute any of this, and it has to hold true, okay? So that's all it's saying about that, all right? Now, an important characteristic of the while loop is that the loop will never iterate if the test expression is false. And we did that with this. Let's put this back to 4, all right? And if x was 10, all right, and we say while x is less than 4, 10 is not less than 4, so it's going to skip all that and just end the program, all right? So that test condition has to be true, all right? See? So you have to, this is a pre-test loop. So that means what? I have to test to see if I'm going to execute this, all right? Now, so, and we talked about infinite loops. An infinite loop is a loop that will continue to perform and never reach that the end of this test. So what is the problem here with this loop? We got our starting point. We have our test condition, but what are we missing? We're missing our increment, right? So what? It'll just try to keep printing hello, 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 new line, hello, new line, hello, new line. So that will be stuck in an infinite loop, all right? And like I say, even if I had number minus minus, it still would be what? An infinite loop, because number would be steadily decreasing, which will never reach 5, all right? Which would cause an infinite loop, okay? And there's many other ways you can get infinite loops. Let me ask you this. Look at this. If I do something like this, all right, this program, all right, so I have x less than 4, right, x plus plus. And then I do something like this, y equals 0. And I do that and I'll say, while y is less than 4. And then I do see out x plus plus. What have I just done? I've mixed up what? My test, well, my initialization and my test. Because what? If I'm trying to compare x here and incrementing by x, then I shouldn't be asking if y is less than 4. Because what? Y is equal to 0. So here I should be doing what? Y plus plus if it's here. So that can cause issues. So because y will always be what? 0. So you got to make sure when you're creating your loops, you matching the values that you intend to match, because otherwise you're looking through programs, looking through the code, and getting frustrated because you cannot figure out why your loop is doing what it's doing. And like I say, many times what programmers will do, they'll say, okay, well, let me go in here, let me see out what y is, and then they'll see where y is steadily 0. Well, if they print x incrementing, and they go here, they're looking at y thinking it's x, overlooking the problem, overlooking the problem, overlooking the problem. And like I say, somebody else, it could be a nephew, whatever, a kid, whatever. Oh, this says Y. You saying X less than 4, but this says Y less than 4. And then you're trying to beat yourself in the head and say, man, I could not see it. So you gotta watch. You gotta make sure, that your variables are all in the proper place. So X equals 0, X less than 4, X plus plus. All right. So, all right. So that's infinite loops, and many things can happen. All right. Now it tells us don't forget the braces with a block of statements. And all they're trying to tell you is, and let me show you. I'll do this. I'll take all this out. Okay, I'll even take this out. Okay. And I'll show you what happens. Because many students don't realize how their program can be affected by not even putting the curly braces. All right. So now I'll say C out. I'll say Y plus plus. Y. And then Y. I could type. All right. So now what I'm doing, it looks like I have a while loop. All right. All right. It looks like I have a while loop, and then what? I'm trying to print out BRCC, print out X, and then on the new line, print out Y. But what happened? I don't have a what? A beginning of a block and the end of a block to include the plus plus and all of these statements. So what I'm going to be done, I'm going to be stuck in an infinite loop where it's going to keep performing just that BRCC output. All right? See? Because by default, this is the line that is going to perform. You understand? It's just going to keep performing that one line. It's not even getting to what? C out Y and whatever Y is, or X plus plus. Because by default, this is the line that is going to execute. All right? Only.
Can you explain where the exact infinite loop is? Because before you said it's going to be infinite loop, I was thinking that it's just going to print off one time because.
Okay, let me ask you this. When is the value of X changing?
I mean, at the end, but like.
Look, remember with an if statement. Remember I told you with an if statement, if you have only one statement that you want to execute, you don't need the curly braces, right?
Say that one more time.
An if statement. If I say if X is greater than 5, C out BRCC, right? I don't need curly braces around C out BRCC, right?
Right.
And it's going to continue on with the program, correct?
Correct.
But now look, I have while X is less than 4, what do I want to do?
Well, you want to print out the two lines.
That's what I want, and increment by X, increment by 1, right?
Right.
That's what I want to do. But what I'm telling it to do, only what? By default, it's going to do just one line.
Right.
So what? X is 0. 0 less than 4, yes. See out that. X is 0. Is 0 less than 4? Yes. Print out that. X is 0. 0 less than 4? Print out that. So you see what's happening? It's only working with these two lines. The while and this. And X is never incrementing. Because what? By default, it's just going to do the next line.
So how do you fix that?
All right. With the curly braces.
Okay. That's what I was thinking.
Right. So you will fix that. And like I said, like we had it before, curly brace, the beginning of the body, and where? At the end. Because what? I have to include this because what? This have to check against that. So if I do that, all of a sudden it's fixed. Well, why did I put the first one? I didn't. All right. So that would fix it. Now look, so while X is less than 4, what I want to do, I want to see out BRCC and X. I want to see out Y, and whatever Y is, increment Y by 1. Then I want to increment X by 1, then go back and check. You got me?
Right.
Right. Now, what I could have done is this, but it still wouldn't be what I wanted to do. Even though it's performing, I could do this. Because what I'm doing now, every time I print X, I'm doing what?
You're adding 1 to it.
Right. So see the flexibility of that too? You remember you was asking about pre and post, whatever? So when I run this now, but what? Notice what happened. 0, 1, 2, 3. So it did this, what, 4 times, but then it printed this only what?
Oh, I see it now.
Oh, you got it?
Mm-hmm.
And it printed this only 1 time because it did this to satisfy the loop. And after that, it broke out and did this, and then it increment X.
That's very handy. Yeah, that's very handy.
Right. Okay, so you got, like I say, it's so many different little things you can do. Certain programmers take on certain styles or whatever, you know. But like I say, right or wrong, no. Like I say, but you choose your style that you want to do, and you go with it. All right. So now, make sure. So like I say, make sure those braces. And like I say, even with the if logic, make sure you have those braces. Now let me ask you this before we continue. Looking at this logic, how many times will it perform the while loop?
With this logic, it will it'll do what you have the program ran right now, right? Like,
well, how many times is it gonna print out BRCC?
It's gonna print out 4 times.
How many times is it gonna print out the Y?
Just once.
No, but it's all embodied. Put the curly braces. And like I said, I just said okay.
Okay, no, the Y is going to be there 4 times as well because, yeah.
And you're wrong.
Really?
Right. Because what I'm doing here.
You're adding 1 to it.
What I'm doing here.
Oh, because you're adding. Oh, man, I didn't see that one.
So you see how easily you can get caught up and say, man, what's going on? Why is it not doing? I know I have it, and you focusing down here, and you're doing something. So how many times is it gonna perform this loop? If I'm doubling up, how many times?
Just 2.
Right, correct. So when I run it, see?
There you go.
So see how easily you can get caught up and confused.
Right.
And like we say, putting X plus and trying to say, oh, I need to add 1 and adding a plus to it, and they throw something else off somewhere else. All right? So you gotta watch. Now, remember we was talking about functions and passing our variables, right?
Right.
How confusing would it be if you was doing if X is less than 4 and setting this to be global and not passing it, and then all of a sudden causing issues, you know, when you're doing whatever. You understand what I'm saying?
Certainly.
So if you actually pass that value, you know what? I'm tracking it here. Okay, when I'm here, I'm passing this value, and I'm using it to do whatever. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So that it makes it a whole lot easier. Now, I could do this, which we don't know. I set Y to equal 4 here, and I could say what? While X less than Y, right?
Right.
Where X is 0 and Y is 4. So it don't have to be just a value, X less than 10. It can be a variable, all right? So, like I said, so that's what would happen. If I take that off, and now what? It should print 4 times. See? It printed the 4 times. Oh. Wait. Oh, because I'm incrementing Y and it never getting a Y. Ah. See, if Y is 4 and X is 0, and I increment Y here, yeah, it never gets to Y because I'm incrementing it, and it's already have 4 steps ahead of X. And so I would need to take this off. Yeah. What's that? Oh, I thought I stopped it. Stop. Okay, there we go. So I need to take this off. And now when I run it, it should do the 4 times. Yep. What's going on? It's slow. Come on. I need to stop it again.
The troubles of the infinite loop.
I know it. But it shouldn't be an infinite because Y is 4. I'm not incrementing.
I mean, it's still running from that old loop.
I know. I think so. Okay, I stopped it. Okay, this is this. Let's run it. No, it's an error. Oh, no, there we go. There we go. All right, so here we go. And see, look. X is 0, Y is 4. Okay, X1, Y is 4. X2, Y is 4. X3, Y is 4. And it kicks out. All right. So that's that. So now that's the while loop. Okay, then I know we stayed on the while loop a while. All right. So while remainder equal. Remember what happened with this? This should be what? A double, right? Double equal because what? This is assigning. All right. You got to watch that. That's assigning. All right. So programming style, like I say, you wouldn't want to do this because it makes it, you can do it. Does it cause errors? No. If you're doing a small whatever, you can, but man, I would say try to stay consistent and try to keep your format to where anybody can look through it and see and follow through. So, but I'm saying, like I say, there's no right and wrong with some of this programming style. Like I say, it'll work, but it'll make it harder to read. All right? Validations. All right? Now, remember how we had and R, right? This shows us how we can check for what? A range of information using and using R, all right? So the while loop can be used to create input routines that repeat until an acceptable data is entered, all right? So what this saying is, okay, while number is less than 1, or a number is greater than 100. So what happens is, if I had, say I worked for a company, and a chemical company or whatever, and I had to put in some values for a certain chemical, and those valid numbers was 1 through 100. If a person enter anything other than 1 or 100, any number, it will still say, okay, error, please enter a valid number or a number between 1 and 100. So that while loop, it'll stay stuck in that while loop until they what? Enter a valid number. All right. So let me just copy this information rather than trying to type it. Hopefully that'll save time. I'll copy this and put it in here. All right. Let's go here. Because how much time I have left? Well, I got that much time. When class end?
I think at 15. I think we're like.
Oh, okay. All right. Hold on. All right. Let me put this in there. So I'll put this in here. I think it'll paste right. All right. But I want to tab it over. So tab this over. Tab this over. Tab this. Tab this. Tab. All right. So now I need to add my variable number. Okay. All right. So what happens is it says, okay, enter a number in the range of 0 to 100. So what? If I enter 0, 0 is less than 100, right? So, I mean, less than 1. So if that's true, it's going to perform this because this is what? Or. Remember, and both sides has to be true in order to perform this. So I could put in 1,000. 1,000 well, 1,000 is not less than 1, right? So therefore, it would be wrong, but it is greater than whatever. That's the true. So that means it will perform this. False and true still yields true. So it'll perform this. So let's run it right quick. Then we'll Go. All right. So let's bring this up. All right. So right here, enter a number. Say I enter -5. What happened? Oh, I wasn't in the thing. I enter -5. See? Please error, please enter a number, whatever. I enter 1001. So until I enter a valid number, it's gonna keep me in that loop. All right. Until saying however long, until I enter something valid. So I enter 44. I enter 44, and look, it went through. It didn't give me the error. So that's what you can do too. So that's validating your code. Because what? Remember, I gave you programs to input numbers. I could have told you, say, like to add. I think one of the programs where we added two length in inches. I could have told you, I want you to input 2 length in inches within the range of 20 and 50. Now what? You would have to use this and validate the input. Now you would have to do what? Something like this. Please enter a value for first length until they between whatever 20 and 40. All right. Well, in the range of 20 and 40. And as long as they enter anything other than something between in the range of 20 and 40, it should keep prompting them to enter a value. So I could have modified that program to do that, but we hadn't gotten to this yet. All right. So that's that part. All right. So that's the loop. So we like I say, class is over. So next class period we'll pick up counters. We kind of talked about that already, but we'll talk about counters. And then we'll get to the do while loop. All right. So hopefully everybody you took your test, right, Mr. Marler? Y'all took your test, huh?
Not yet.
Okay, yeah. But I went over the responders, how to do the responders. Did everybody sign the roll?
That's what I'm doing right now.
Oh, it's too late.
Oh shoot.
I need to do it. I'll do it for you. Yeah, I'll set it up for you. But any questions?
Mine too.
Miss. Let me write those names down. So I have Miss.
I forgot to sign a roll.
Who is that?
Williams.
Who?
Williams.
What's your last name?
Williams.
Mr. Williams. Oh, Mr. Williams, you the one. Say about 12 o'clock, huh? Huh?
Yes, sir.
You can tell your classmates so they might want to join in at 12.
They know. They just need to know how to do it, like this one.
Do this what program?
How to get in. Where is it?
For what?
The 12 o'clock.
Oh, I never posted it yet. I'm gonna put the Zoom out. Yeah. So it's Williams,
Marler,
and who else?
Miss Pullet.
Pullet. Okay.
Right. I'm here as well, Mr. Sylvester.
I didn't sign either.
Well, 000. Who is that?
James.
Last name James?
Last name Robinson.
Robinson. Who else?
Same with me, Mr. Sylvester.
Singleton?
Yes, sir. I was busy helping my grandmother.
All right.
I couldn't get a chance to
sign. Okay. Who else? So I got Marla, Williams, Pullet, Singleton, and Robinson. All right. So what I'm gonna do? Let me. Y'all ready to start now?
What's going on at 12?
Some people wanted me to kind of look at their programs and kind of work with them with the programs.
Totally. Yeah.
All right. So let me add them. So I'll just stay on. Let me add them to the. Well, I tell you what. I'll cut it short and add it because it'll make the video long. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
And I could give it a name and whatever, and then you could go back to just that video or whatever. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So I'll cut it short. Any other questions?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have office hours?
Well, what you do, like with Mr. Williams, You email me, and then we could communicate that way, or we could set up a time where we can talk, or online or whatever. Right. But because like I said, we don't have the office, but like I say, you through email, just say, Mr. Sylvester, what time is whatever for you, and we'll work out a time, and then we'll meet. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Any other questions?
Someone posted, where's the test? I didn't see any other tests, by the way, either. Like chapter 4?
Chapter 4, yeah.
I don't see it on Canvas either.
It's not out there?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. So I didn't post it then.
Yeah, it's not up there.
Oh, okay. Let me see something. I think that's what I did. I made a mistake. Yeah, I think that was my mistake because I wanted to show y'all. Did we look at we look at the switch statement, did we?
I think so.
Yeah. I think we looked at the switch statement. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, but that was on Monday. But I'm gonna check and see if the test is out there. But I'm gonna log off and I'm gonna log back on, and I'll even send an email. But you should see it in Canvas once I create that Zoom meeting. All right.
Sure.
All right. Yes, any other questions? And like I said, we'll answer questions also in that other session. All right. All right. So let me add those to the roll, and then we'll get started with the other session. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right.